Hello everyone, and welcome to Red Raptor Writes. I'm so happy to return to one of my favorite franchises, Star Wars. As I'm sure many of you know, Star Wars Episode 9 is coming to theaters in December, the epic finale to the sequel trilogy, wrapping up the story of Rey and the Skywalker. Oh wait, nobody cares. You'll find mixed opinions on The Force Awakens and Rogue One, but man, The Last Jedi and Solo have sent this once beloved franchise into a nosedive. Much of that having to do with the new cast of characters, particularly Rey. Many fans believe Rey to be a flat-out bland protagonist for several reasons that we'll cover throughout the video. To fully understand the dislike of Rey, I feel it's necessary to compare her to a character in Star Wars who actually worked and left audiences with their jaws dropped all the way on the floor. Also, the sequel writers could have learned a thing or two from him when crafting their own protagonist. The character I'm speaking of is Darth Revan from the amazing 2003 game Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. Many returning viewers should already know how much I absolutely adore this game, with it coming to an impressive number 2 spot on my list of all-time favorite video games. The famous Jedi turned Lord of the Sith turned Jedi again, Revan had a phenomenally written story in which I think is full of possible comparisons to Rey, unlocking the secret of how much better her character could have been handled in the sequel trilogy. So we would be honored if you would join us as we unravel why Revan brought balance to the franchise while Rey left it in darkness. Let's dig this up.
We have questions. They have answers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome President of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, and the writer-director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson.
The dark side is strong in this place. I can feel its power.
The first comparison I want to make is in their skill sets. Revan and Rey are both without a doubt extraordinary people, even within the Star Wars universe. Both Jedi constantly outperform their rivals and surpass all expectations.
In all my years, I have never seen one who has mastered the initial training so quickly. You have done in weeks what many cannot do in years.
I've seen this raw strength only once before, in Ben Solo. It didn't scare me enough then. It does now.
So how come this has been such a great part of one story and yet a major point of contention for another? Well, let's start with Revan. Just about every video game, or movie for that matter, follows someone special, someone who stands out from the rest, making themselves worthy of said game or movie. Revan, of course, is no exception. After waking up on the Endar Spire, it becomes abundantly clear that he's a man of special talents. He can speak a great variety of alien languages, proving useful across the many planets you explore. On top of that, he's a capable fighter, a swoop racer, very strong in the Force, and an extremely bright student. Although it takes the average apprentice years and years to train in the Force, your character manages the same feat in a matter of weeks. The Jedi Council send a brand spanking new member of their order on a secret mission to stop the Lord of the Sith. This is weird, and the game acknowledges it. Your companion Karth notes how strange everyone's behaving, and that none of this is normal, adding to his already severe trust issues. Rey displays very similar attributes. She's an amazing pilot, unbelievably strong in the Force, a fast learner, can communicate with aliens like Chewbacca, can fight with a staff, and outmatch just about anyone with a lightsaber. The difference here though is in the explanation. In KotOR, your character's talents are directly linked to the big reveal, that you are actually the former Lord of the Sith, Darth Revan, betrayed by his apprentice Malak. Your memory has been erased, but the talents still remain. In the case of Rey, well, there really isn't any explanation for her many abilities. She knows more about ships than even the legendary Han Solo, despite never having anyone teach her and without ever flying. Without any substantial lessons in sword fighting, our new hero is single-handedly able to outperform a very injured Kylo Ren, okay, makes sense, and Luke Skywalker. Then, she can even take down Snoke's guards, who I can only assume have been heavily trained in order to prepare for defending the Supreme Leader. And this girl can utilize the Force mind trick and telekinesis without a shred of practice. Heck, she wasn't even aware of the Force until the events of Awakens, yet here she is performing the feats of Master Kenobi. Remember, the Lord of the Sith took weeks to relearn basic Force powers, while Rey heard about an all-powerful Force and learned to manipulate it within, at most, a few days. Instead of giving any reasonable explanation for this, like maybe her circumstance was similar to Revan, a Jedi with a wiped mind, the creators just said, hey, don't question it or else you're sexist. Not a good way to get your fans on board with the character.
The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it.
Next up, we have the character struggles. Every hero needs a challenge to overcome, providing the conflict for the narrative. These can be internal, like self-doubt, or external, like a school bully.
As you remember last week, we started sections.
I'm SpongeBob.
Hi, SpongeBob. I'm gonna kick your butt.
Typically, the main protagonist goes through some arc, causing them to be different than when they began, both as a result of and in response to the conflict. Knights of the Old Republic is a role-playing game. The player chooses their character's actions, manipulating major story elements, so it's a hard comparison to make with a film character. However, one struggle both have to overcome is the internal conflict of light versus dark, good versus evil inside of them. Again, contrasting Rey's and Revan's journeys can tell us why one is regarded as one of the greatest Star Wars stories ever, and why the other, well, isn't.
That's how we're gonna win. Not fighting what we hate. Saving what we love.
Boo! The story of Revan is an interesting one, but a long one at that, so I'll just give the extremely abridged version. And for the record, I'll only cover the canonical light side male Revan. So, our protagonist and his apprentice Malak were once Jedi Knights, but after betraying the Jedi Council to lead a war, the two heroes grew corrupted by the dark side, showing that anyone, even someone as great as Revan, can fall. After their turn, and with the discovery of the Star Forge, the two Sith launched an assault on the still crippled Republic. After much conquest, Malak turned on his master, supposedly killing him. Little did he or us audiences know that his old friend was saved by the Jedi, with the little spark of life left rekindled by the young Jedi Bastila. The events of the game begin shortly after. Once Revan returns to Dantooine, the Jedi send him and Bastila on a quest to stop Malak, manipulating their former enemy into carrying out their will. Wow, still the abridged version takes a while. Anyways, Revan was a noble Jedi once, but succumbed to evil. Those who know his identity are in fear that retreading the same physical path will send him down the same spiritual path, leading him back to the Sith. Once Bastila turns, she offers him the same power and position as before. So there's a constant tension as to whether or not Revan can complete his mission while remaining faithful. An intriguing dilemma. Will Revan defeat the Sith or lead them as he reclaims his title? Let's jump from here to The Last Jedi, when Rey is in a similar position. After slaughtering Supreme Leader Snoke, Kylo Ren offers Rey a place at his side for the two of them to rule the galaxy together. A pivotal moment that shall decide the fate of the entire galaxy. But it falls flat. Here's why. Evil has never had any hold on Rey. Kylo presents her with a choice, but it doesn't really feel like a choice. For her entire time on screen, our OP anime character has been given similar choices in which she can be selfish or selfless, and she has always chosen selflessness. There's no reason to fear that in this one moment she'll make the bad decision, because up to this point she has never made a bad decision besides, I guess, looking at a cave. Even earlier in Awakens, Rey was presented with the same offer which she had already turned down. It's basically, hey Rey, do you want to rule the galaxy? Do you want to rule the galaxy now?
Squidward, we finally found you!
Get off me! I'm not Squidward!
Are you Squidward now?
Again, contrast this with Revan, who became a literal Sith Lord. Any good protagonist will have flaws. The drama and character growth should be about overcoming these flaws. Rey, however, has no flaws, no real character struggles besides wanting to know who her parents are so she can feel special, but she's already special, and that's what Ancestry.com is for. Now, I know I've been focusing on more of the internal struggles and character choices, but I can point to the external as well. I'll briefly touch on it, so I won't go as in depth. The new Revan has to grow and train in order to take on the gigantic Sith army and Lord Malak, who has grown more powerful than ever. Rey is stuck facing off against a whiny kid she's already bested a movie ago, and an incompetent general who is the butt of yo mama jokes. Yeah, not as high stakes if you ask me, which is probably why they're digging up Palpatine's grave for episode 9.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
Aside from the well-crafted characters, brilliant dialogue, fascinating analyses of iconic figures, and memorable voice acting,
Bendak is down! It's over! It's over! The fight is over! Bendak Starkiller is down! Bendak Starkiller is dead! All hail the mysterious stranger! The greatest duelist to ever grace the rings of Terrace!
What everyone remembers most fondly about KotOR is the twist that you, the player, are the washed-up remains of the former Dark Lord. It was jaw-dropping, epic, and endlessly satisfying, totally altering how you interpreted every previous occurrence in the game, and providing an easy explanation for all the skills that make you so special. The twist also creates fascinating new relationships between characters. Now the fight with Malak isn't just about protecting the Republic, now it's personal. The dialogue that ensues between the former friends is almost poetic.
And in the end, as the darkness takes me, I am nothing.
Bastila, Revan's love interest, which is already possibly the best romance in Star Wars, is now a co-conspirator in brainwashing Revan into doing the Jedi Council's bidding. Karth, who was already iffy with new people, certainly doesn't trust you now. In short, KotOR's plot twist added so many layers of greatness and was so perfectly woven. Every question our heroes had about the player was neatly wrapped up, like, why did the Jedi train you so fast and send you on a mission despite their traditions? Oh, because they wanted to manipulate their greatest enemy, tricking him into becoming a strong ally. Now, finally, with Rey in the sequel trilogy, the twists and turns come across as incoherent, sloppy. Honestly, I appreciate the decisions made in The Last Jedi. Kylo overthrowing Snoke to become the new leader of the First Order? Cool. Rey coming from nothing, showing us that it's a vast universe and that heroes don't always come from royal bloodlines? Perfect. Luke being a broken, remorseful old man certainly has potential. The problems come in the execution. With Rey specifically, every time there's some reveal, more questions are created than resolved. The two main questions surrounding the scavenger are the identity of her parents and why she's so overpowered, leaving many to connect the two. drawing fans to the conclusion that she's so gifted in everything because of her mysterious parents, who must also be gifted. Then, if her parents are gifted, then maybe one of them is a character we already know, such as Obi-Wan, Han Solo, maybe Mace Windu. In The Last Jedi, when we learn Rey really is a nobody, although being the best choice for a story like this leaves many viewers confused. If Rey isn't from a special lineage, then why is she so powerful in the Force, learning it faster than any other living being to ever exist? Why did Luke's lightsaber call out to her?
So much strength. Darkness rises and light to meet it.
Okay, so the Force raises up people of the light to combat the growing darkness? Then why of all people a random trash collector on Jakku? Why didn't the light raise someone to defeat the Galactic Empire that lasted for 20 years? And if that someone was Luke, then why did the Force wait so long? Why did Luke require so much training despite being the son of a man with a higher midichlorian count than even Yoda? Okay guys, I can keep going, I really can, but I'm sure you get the point. Every reveal just raises more questions instead of providing satisfying answers like Knights of the Old Republic. I've talked about crafting good twists many times before, but in short, they have to be like KotOR. A twist should A. surprise you, yet B. make sense, lining up with and connecting previously given information, and C. cause you to reinterpret every aspect of the narrative. Your entire view of the work should be changed drastically. Knights of the Old Republic meets all these requirements masterfully, while The Last Jedi, A. is pretty surprising, yes, but B. doesn't line up with previous information like Rey being gifted at everything, which then causes C. not much of our previous interpretations changing as much as accepting a shifting reality that seeks to retcon the past due to the writers being on different wavelengths. That is short for why the classic game has an unforgettable reveal, while the subversions in the sequels are just meh.
I'm tired of waiting, Comad. How big can this dragon of yours be? I'm going in.
Now, to wrap up the video, I just want to be clear that I don't hate the Star Wars Sequel Trilogy or duology at this point. In fact, sometimes I feel like I'm one of the few out there who still enjoys Awakens. I also don't hate The Last Jedi. The execution fell flat in many places, but I certainly enjoy the themes and twists they were attempting. And I'm not trying to beat down on Rey. I was really interested in her character coming out of Awakens, although her welcome wore off for me once she bested Luke Skywalker with barely any training. My goal is to use this comparison between two monumental and similar Star Wars characters to give advice on creating engaging characters for the fans to get behind. Whether it's for Episode 9 or a future Star Wars series, it's important to take note where the franchise has succeeded and failed before in order to do better later on. The protagonist is the heart and soul of any narrative. If the fans can't root for them, then why would they care to watch or play or read what you're selling them? This is what happened with Rey, and if the writers just took notes from KotOR, then the sequels would be in a far better place. So I hope Disney learned something. I hope the writers learned something, and most importantly of all, I hope you learned something. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to please leave a like, subscribe, and smash that notification bell, because next up is my full-blown Knights of the Old Republic analysis. You don't want to miss it. See you then.